Hey guys, Rift here, and today let's talk about why you should buy or replay The Witcher 3 in 2021. Before we move on, subscribe to the channel if you guys want to see more game reviews and discussions. I'll be talking about the similarities and difference of Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077 in a future video. So this is technically my second playthrough of The Witcher 3. My first playthrough was around 2015 when the game first came out. Back then my PC was a potato, and this game isn't fun when you're playing on a potato. So I wasn't able to finish this game the first time I got it. I got as far as Novigrad. But this time around I was able to finish the game and do most of the quest and side stuff. It's really hard to believe that the creators of The Witcher 3 also made Cyberpunk 2077. The level of detail they put into The Witcher 3 is night and day compared to Cyberpunk 2077. I guess the reason for that is that they had a clear vision for what The Witcher 3 is compared to Cyberpunk 2077. For example, the world of The Witcher 3. The world and the setting of this game is a classic fantasy world, and it's rich with lore and mystery that you want to keep on digging into the world to see what you can uncover, from its grotesque creatures to its magical creatures to sorceresses and of course witchers. This world is filled with wonder that you can jump into this world and get lost in it. Not to mention that there are also warring kingdoms, kings, armies, politics, and so much more. The world feels lived in, and its setting is so refined that you can easily get immersed into the game. An awesome example of this is how different races would react to Geralt. Most humans would be either scared of him or straight up disrespect him, while some non-humans would see Geralt as the same as them. And you feel that wherever you go in the game. And that's just amazing. The graphics for this game is great, even compared to some modern AAA games today. Visually, this game is very pleasing to look at, from its god rays to how night and day looks to the water. Not only that, but the creatures as well look amazing, from the draconids flying around to the fiends and to the average neckers and necrophages. I also love how detailed Geralt's gear looks, the cool looking weapons and Geralt's armor. I really appreciate it when games show a lot of detail when it comes to your character's gears. Non-human NPCs and main characters are also very well done. I mean, just look at Yen, Ciri, and Triss. Visual effects like when it's raining or when you're underwater is done really well, and it just adds more to the immersion and atmosphere. The big city of Novigrad and the barren wastes in Velen to the beautiful sceneries in Skellige makes looking at this game a treat, and sometimes I don't even want to look away. And it's one of the main reasons why this game can get really immersive. Next, let's talk about the audio. From the sound effects to the background music, The Witcher 3 nailed it. The sound effects when a storm is happening to the howling of the winds just adds another layer of atmosphere to this game. The sound effects of the weapons and magic make the combat feel weighty. The voice acting for the main characters was done really well that you feel the emotion when talking to Triss and Yen. You also feel the subtle hints when Geralt is frustrated or happy, even if Witcher's emotions are taken from them. And just thinking about how they pull that off is really hard, but they did it really well. One thing I noticed though, a lot of NPCs had the same voice line. Especially the merchants, they all had the same voice, which was really funny. The combat for The Witcher 3 is, I think, what made this game great. To me, a good game can keep its players interested in its gameplay loop, from the beginning to its end, and The Witcher 3 done this really well. Leveling up is really unique. Leveling up does not automatically mean that you get stronger. Yes, you get ability points, but you can only keep a certain number of abilities active at a time, which making the leveling up system really interesting and unique. You can essentially make different builds by choosing what abilities to keep active. The beast you fight in the game is really fleshed out. The bestiary is filled with a lot of lore and useful info on how to fight your next contract. And in harder difficulties, the bestiary is your best friend. It'll give you the things you need to prepare yourself for a battle, like a true professional monster hunter. The combat mechanics overall is simple. You have a fast attack, a slow but heavy attack, a dodge roll, a parry, and a sidestep. At the time, this combat style was very common in games during 2015, but the thing that made the combat for this game unique is the preparation, like what I said with the bestiary. Preparing what oils to use and what bombs to use for different situations can really be critical when it comes to combat, especially in higher difficulties, and the strategies for fighting different types of beasts will also differ. Signs are also really fun to use. It made me feel like a Jedi in a medieval fantasy setting. The combat overall is very simple but very effective. It kept me hooked till the end of the game. Like what I said, the combat is one of the reasons why this game is great. Next, let's talk about the story. The story is centered around Geralt and Ciri. Basically, Geralt is trying to find Ciri before the Wild Hunt finds her. I don't want to spoil the main stories too much, so we'll leave it at that. But the story as a whole is really interesting. And like the combat, one of the reasons why this game is great. Main mission wise, well, at least at the beginning of the story, you're to follow any leads to track down and find Ciri. Along the way, you also get to explore Geralt's relationships with his friends and his love interests, Yen and Triss, and how Geralt interacts with the world around him. A lot of the decisions you make during the main quest can have significant effects to the people around Geralt, which adds more interesting ways to play. The side quest is what, to me, makes this game special. A lot of the side quests have great stories and choices that make it hard to choose one or the other. For example, there's a quest named In the Heart of the Woods, where you can choose to kill a monster that acts like a parasite to a village, but you also find out that the same monster also provides protection and food to hunt for the villagers. The more you dig into this story, the harder it is for you to choose what to do, and there are a lot of examples of this throughout your playthrough in the world of The Witcher 3. While we're on the subject of quests, let's talk about the Witcher contracts. As a Witcher, you're basically a professional monster hunter. A lot of the contracts as well have cool stories, but most of the time you get to fight unique monsters and get trophies which are really cool. And you also get to see how a Witcher hunts down their prey. There are some contracts that offer up choices to kill the monster or keep them alive, and this also adds a layer of immersion. To me, I can safely say that the level of story writing in The Witcher 3 is as great as games that were made by Bethesda and Obsidian. Next, let's talk about a few little things that I noticed. The first thing that I want to talk about is that this game has bugs. Though not a lot, but it still has bugs. There was one bug in particular where I was fighting a water hag and I got teleported to the bottom of the lake, but when I tried to swim out, I couldn't. There were also bugs where during conversations NPCs would just bug out. Some would walk right through you and some would just do random stuff. And during combat, well, it's better just to show you. The other thing is Geralt's controls can sometimes feel clunky. For a lack of a better word, it doesn't feel precise. You can sometimes fall off cliffs even when you stop pressing forward. Also, looting can be annoying as there will be things that you can't loot even if they are lootable. Roach, the horse, can get stuck in a lot of things. And well, the horses in general are just really buggy. To conclude, The Witcher 3 is a great game, a modern classic. Although the game time is really long, every step felt worth it. From exploring the world to the quests and the stories you find, every step is a new adventure. Exploring caves and abandoned ruins, to fighting different beasts and monsters, everywhere you turn, you'll find something to do. Usually games this long can feel really dragged out and boring, maybe because the story gets stale or the gameplay loop gets boring. In The Witcher 3, the story only gets even more engaging the deeper you dive in, and the gameplay loop can be very interesting, especially in harder difficulties. This game is great, and it really is sad that CDPR is being trashed by the gaming industry for what they did to Cyberpunk 2077. It really is surprising that the people that gave us this masterpiece of a game also gave us one of the most disappointing games today. I hope that if CDPR decides to make another Witcher game, they make it as good or even better than The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 is a great game to play, from its storytelling to its gameplay loops. I think that any RPG fan should give this game a playthrough if you haven't. I also think that this game is worth for the price, and this game goes on sale a lot. One last note, this game's DLCs are a masterclass, from Blood and Wine to Heart of Stone, which to me makes buying this game worth it. That's gonna be it for me today, guys. If you like the video, press that like button, subscribe to the channel if you guys want to see more gaming stuff. I'm gonna be doing more. It's just been a really crazy month. And tell me down below what you guys think of The Witcher 3. Are you gonna buy it? It's on sale right now on Steam as of recording and writing. And the season 2 for The Witcher on Netflix is coming out. So are you guys gonna play it? Tell me down below. That's gonna be it for me, you guys. Talk to you guys soon. Peace out. Much love.